Students and families, we are back with another edition of Grade 5 Bridges, Week 8. Today we're going to focus on division. Before we get started, please don't forget to go get your scrap paper and pencil to help you with the problems. Today's outcome, students will use strategies based on place value, properties of operations, and models to solve division problems related to real-world situations. Let's get our brains thinking mathematically and participate in our think about it for today. Let's look at the four squares. Which one doesn't belong? A, B, C, or D? Find someone in your house and let them know which one doesn't belong, and then explain to them why it doesn't belong. Now we're going to take the next steps with remainders and look at them as fractional numbers and decimals. Let's look at converting from a fractional number to a decimal number first. Fractions are closely related to division. So when thinking of the fraction 1/4, this means 1 divided by 4. So we know that 1 is also equivalent to 1 and 0/10. Well, 4 goes into 10 two times. 2 times 4 is 8. We subtract and we get 2. And we can bring down another 0, giving us 20. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 equals 20, giving us a remainder of 0. The decimal just comes right up so that 1/4 equals 25 hundredths. Now we're going to convert from a decimal to a fractional number. Using equivalent fractions is a helpful strategy when converting decimals to fractions. So we're going to look, and when we have 25 hundredths, we know it's the same as 25 over 100. Also said 25 hundredths. So we're going to take that fraction, which we know is equivalent to the decimal 25 hundredths, and we're going to simplify it. We're going to divide it by 1 whole, or 25 fifths, giving us 1/4. So 25 hundredths is equivalent to 1/4. Now I want you to try a couple problems on your own. I want you to convert the fraction 7/8 to a decimal, and then I want you to convert the decimal 1 4/10 to a fraction. Please pause the video, and when you're ready for me to review the problems with you, press play again. Okay, I'm going to go over the problems with you. So you have 7 divided by 8. 8 goes into 70 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. Subtract and you get 6. Bring down a 0. 8 goes into 60 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. Subtract and we get 4. Bring down another 0. 8 goes into 40 5 times. Multiply, we can subtract and we get 0. Bring up your decimal point. You can put a 0 there as well. So 7/8 equals 875 thousandths. Now for 1 4/10, we know that the whole number for the fraction is going to be 1, then 4 over 10. To simplify that, we can divide the numerator and the denominator by 2, which equals a whole, and we get 1 2/5. We're going to do one more problem together. 840 divided by 48. We're going to write our quotient as a fraction and as a decimal. So let's begin. We have 840 divided by 48. 48 goes into 84 one time. 84 minus 48 equals 36. Bringing down the 0. 48 goes into 360 7 times. 7 times 48 is 336. When we subtract them, we get 24. So we'll have to add a decimal and another 0. And bring that down. 48 goes into 240 5 times. 5 times 48 equals 240. 240 minus 240 equals 0. And then, of course, we're going to bring up our decimal point. So as a decimal, our answer is 17 5/10. So if we wrote 17 5/10 as a fraction, 17 5/10. And to simplify that, we divide by 5/5, which equals 1 whole, giving us 17 1/2. So 17 5/10 equals 17 1/2. Okay, now you're going to want to probably take a picture of this problem and come back to it after our video because it encompasses a lot. Let me read it to you. Mr. Arnold's students are going on a field trip to the art museum. The 28 students' tickets cost $161. How much did each ticket cost? First, I want you to solve the problem. Show your work on your scrap paper. Then I want you to tell me between which two whole numbers does your answer lie. Then write an equation to represent the problem and the answer. And finally, explain what you did with the remainder, if any, and why. I have 3 problems for you to try. I want you to take 6/8 and convert it to a decimal. I want you to convert 6/10 to a fraction. And then I want you to divide 273 divided by 84. When you get your quotient, I want you to write it as a decimal and a fraction. I'll pause in case you need to take a picture of these 3 problems. We have 4 problems that we would like you to do to show us what you know. Ask your teacher how she or he would like you to submit your work. Do they want you to take a picture and send it to them? Do they want you to take a picture and submit it as an assignment in Schoology? Or you can complete the Schoology assignment in your course folder. We have been happy to have you here today, and we can't wait to see you again next week.